Good evening. I will call the April 18, 2019 meeting of the Board of Commissioners for Johnson City to order. Tonight, we are honored to have Reverend Lester Latney to lead our invocation. We will all rise and then stay standing for our pledge.
Let us pray. Eternal and all-wise God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day that you've blessed us to see. God, we thank you because you are consistent in your love, your kindness, and your mercy that you extend to us. God, we thank you for this great city that we live in. We pray now that you would bless this leadership, bless our staff, bless all who are members of the employee base of this great community who provide such awesome and dynamic service for this community. God, these deliberations that we are preparing for, they are under your direction, they are under your guidance, and mostly under your care. So God, we pray that you would speak to the minds of our mayor, our vice mayor, our commissioners, our city manager, and all of our staff. Use this as an opportunity to bring blessings to this great community. We love you, we honor you, and we bless you. And we most of all thank you for sending your son, that he might die, that we might be able to have life. In the name of Christ Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson?
Your first order is consideration of your minutes for the meeting held on Thursday, April the 4th.
Commissioners, is there a motion or any revisions to the minutes?
Move for approval. I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
At this time, we'll have a presentation by the Johnson City Development Authority. Snooze, you lose, Tom.
Thank you all for having us. My name is Josh Mancuso. I'm here as a board member of the Johnson City Development Authority. I want to just kind of remind everyone what the mission of the JCDA is, which is to promote and to assist with the development and redevelopment of Johnson City, specifically inside of downtown, in collaboration with other entities throughout our community, identifying different needs and implementing actions to meet those needs.
Just a reminder, some of our priorities include enhancing the walkability of downtown, looking at opportunities for public and private parking, programming events, managing all areas of Founders Park and King Commons, our facade grants, TIF projects, and new business development. In order to do all of that, we utilize the Main Street four-point approach. We have a design committee, economic vitality, marketing and promotions committee, and then we also have a standing committee that's the parking committee. So some things that we feel like were successes that we were able to accomplish in 2018. We funded 4 facade grants for a total of $25,744. That's just grants that closed. The budget was actually $40,000, and this year we're up to $60,000. We facilitated 4 TIF projects, including the phase 1 of the model mill. We had 2 co-starter cohorts where we had 3 new businesses opened and 3 expanded their focus. I'll let Josh.
Yeah, I chair the marketing committee of the JCDA, so I'm involved a lot with the marketing side. We provided some social media workshops for downtown business owners, and we organized the Small Business Saturday promotions, which that event was a huge success, I do believe. We also created the downtown update videos in May of last year, and those went over really well. We had a series of them throughout the summer, and promoted events happening in downtown, and we had an engagement over 2,000 every week and up to 8,000, and I think I even saw 10 to 12,000 views on each of those videos. So we got a good response from those. I still have people come up to me now and saying, I come downtown because I saw those videos. A lady that moved here with her family from Indiana this summer came up to me in the library and was like, we just moved here and we saw the videos, and then we came downtown and discovered all kinds of things to do. So anyways, it's good to see our marketing working.
Yeah. So we hosted a community engagement event with over 400 in attendance when we talked about what it means to be a college town and an outdoor recreation community. We activated a SAD breezeway that was in partnership with the city into the gallery on the square. We launched the startup space with a new business at 325 East Main Street, which is a property that you own, the city owns. We collaborated with our Instacrafty folks to have 3 makers markets and 2 workshops. Purchased 75 new banners for downtown. We have a cycle that we purchase banners every year because they only last about 3 years. And right now we're up to about 160 light poles, so you have to phase them out each year. We funded 2 bike repair stations and 4 new racks throughout the downtown, assisted the Sesquicentennial Commission with their kickoff event.
We hosted 15 events in downtown and then facilitated another 54 events. Plus, we have weekly fitness activities going on all the time. We estimate around 65,480 people attending downtown events with a conservative economic impact of around $250,000 to $450,000, and that's based on a $3 to $5 purchase per person.
Which we know that is very
conservative.
conservative,
Yes.
because if you go out to dinner, you're going to spend more than $3 to $5. But we did want to just give you an idea of what the benefit of some of our events are, and the majority of the restaurant owners are very appreciative. In fact, one of them asked me if we could do Founders After 5 2 nights a week because it impacts their business so well. One of our team is the organizational leadership. That's our executive committee. They are, their mission is just to make sure that we are carrying out what we've been called to do. Some of our plans for 2019-2020 is to purchase and market the John Sevier Building to developers. Our responsibility is to facilitate tax increment financing requests. We are looking to identify solutions to parking issues, one of which being constructing an external elevator at the downtown center. We maintain an open communication with our downtown business and property owners, and we do that several ways. We have a email blast that goes out, but we also have quarterly business update gatherings, and at those events, we also invite different city staff if there's something going on in the city for them to come and communicate with our business owners. We are working with property owners to investigate a business improvement district that Johnson City had at one time. We want to support the implementation of a historic tax credit in the state of Tennessee, so we've been very involved in those discussions on a state level. And then we've been looking into opportunity zone options and how it could impact the economic vitality of our community. So speaking of economic vitality, that's a very active committee. Some of their plans for this year is to create a list of blighted properties. We hope to work with our development services, our zone and codes people to really see what we can do about these vacant buildings that are blighted, are not attractive, and they also just bring all of the rest of the block down, to be honest. We're updating the list of available properties and space. That's something that I use when people call me that want to open a business downtown. I have something that I can give them immediately. We're looking at creating a list of potential retailers, and we're going to send members of this committee out to areas such as Boone, Banner Elk, Asheville, Abington, some other areas to talk to businesses about opening a second location, possibly in downtown Johnson City. We are working on marketing collateral for business recruitment that will utilize the city's all-out brand. We're working on a plan to activate storefronts where we actually highlight some of the successful business owners that we have downtown, and instead of having black front buildings when you walk down the street, you would be able to see the story of why downtown is a good place to open a business. We're planning 2 workshops a year that will actually benefit existing retail and business owners, give them some training that might benefit them. And then our plan is to offer co-starter 3 times this year. The next class begins May 27th, and we have had just fantastic results with that class. Last week, we announced the free downtown Wi-Fi program. That's a partnership with ARC Grant, Bright Ridge, and the JCDA. And then we've been working with ETSU to identify space and support what would be an art and media business lab. We have concerns about the number of people that are leaving our area that are coming out of digital media and the Adobe program and IT. And if we can find a way that they can work remotely, by creating some type of lab that would have the computer business software that they need and any type of support they need, that would be our goal. Another committee is the design, and that is made up of folks from public art, historic zoning, and some JCDA. And one of the things that we would love to do is partner with the city to continue the beautification project of the downtown square breezeway. We really see a lot of value in activating that space and continuing to have it as a visible connection between Main Street and downtown square parking lot. We're going to create a new design of downtown banners that go along with the All Out brand. We have just sent out a survey online and through our email blast, asking people what they would like to see in Majestic Park as a pocket park. And so folks can go on to the downtown Johnson City Facebook page and take that. It's only 5 questions, but that was something the committee that's working on Majestic Park asked us to do. We're investigating the possibility of a dog park. There's a fantastic grant through Boyd Sports called Tennessee Dog Park Dash, and so we're looking at that. And if we have a lot of people that live downtown that have dogs, and so is there a place that we could create for a dog park? We're updating the facade grant application to sort of go along, changing just a little bit of that grant, but then we're also wanting to take the signage portion out of that grant and create a sign grant that would be available to people in the historic district for a consistent blade sign program. So instead of having different type of metal poles that would attach it, it would be something that would be much more continuous down the street, and they wouldn't be rusted and they would be maintained. So I'll let Josh do.
This is our last committee that we're going to discuss, and it's our marketing committee, which is a team of several people from our community that know a good deal about marketing, and also a couple merchants from downtown as well. And so we are currently working on developing a new logo and a tagline that supports the city's brand, that is consistent and coherent with the city's branding and logo. We have a goal of increasing our social media following and engagement by 30% this year and every year. We will continue to promote businesses through the Merchant Monday campaign, which is every Monday on Facebook. We promote a certain business and tell about who they are and some history about them. And then we'll continue more promotional videos as well. We've learned that and discovered that video is what typically gets the best engagement on Facebook, and so we'll continue to do that. We are going to be redesigning the downtownjc.com website. And then we will continue with the events that we've had in the past by JCDA, such as the Founders After 5, of course at Christmas, the Whoville Village, Grown and Gathered, the dinner. We're going to continue working with ETSU to connect students, faculty, and alumni with downtown through some various events and promotions there. We continue to manage reservations. Reagan Streetman does a lot of this, reservations for Founders Park, the Pavilion, and King Commons, and she completes a walkthrough with each organization when that happens. And we work a lot in hand with the Economic Vitality team for business development workshops, including Google My Business. So I believe that is all we have. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
I have a couple of questions and a comment. You've left one thing off that you are doing as well, and that is kind of raising the farmers market activities.
Yes. Yes.
on Saturdays particularly with more.
So our goal is to offer at least one special event a month at the Johnson City Farmers Market, including the first market will be next Saturday, the 27th.
So things like how to plant a raised garden, programs for children,
Yes.
particularly down
Yes.
there.
So we'll bring in some agricultural folks to maybe do sort of side workshops, or we're also asking some of the vendors if they would be willing to do some workshops as well, and reaching out to the library, some of the other entities with it. Parks and Rec, I believe, is going to do something. So there's 21 weeks in the for the farmers market, and so we hope to have at least 7 or 8 events this year that will just be an added element to the farmers market and strengthen it.
So just a couple of things. And first of all, thank y'all for furthering the brand of Johnson City. I really love seeing how you've integrated that, and the farmers market will be Grow All Out. They've already designed some T-shirts and some banners, so it all makes sense, doesn't
Yes.
it? Your committees who are working like on parking,
Yes.
where are you on that, and kind of what's,
So yesterday, we met with the architects who will be designing an external elevator. Our goal is that it would be 3-sided glass, so it'd be very visible. It would be on the Buffalo end of the parking garage, where it's on one of the points. And so we hope to have some renderings and design concepts in the next 3-4 weeks, and then we will look at costs and how it will be paid for.
so that the parking garage,
Would be
and
available.
it will be fully
It-
available?
Yes, ma'am. So we're also working with Northeast State Community College about access to that parking garage on a daily basis.
So what about other parking? Do we have any, can we manufacture some land or something?
I think it really comes to turning over the parking, and that's an enforcement. But there's always there's just so many people that are now living downtown, and if you live downtown, you will have at least one car that's there 12 to 14 hours a day. So we know the parking garage is key, and then signage to direct people to other public lots, such as the one down by the transit, down West Market Street. There's several there, and people just don't realize where additional parking is. And I don't think we have a parking problem, we have a walking problem.
So a couple of years ago, we really started enforcing the 2-hour, like in downtown square. Are we having employees park in these spaces again, to your knowledge, that? It's either yes or no.
Yes.
Probably.
So one restaurant owner said, Diana, I just hope my employees show up. I'm not, where they park is not something that I can control. I just want them to show up for work, which is sad, and that's, there's several issues there. But we continue to encourage, especially our restaurant owners, because they have so many hourly people working for them. They're there at night when people are coming down to dine. And what I've tried saying to them is, if the customer comes in happy, they're going to leave more money. They're going to spend more money. So if they don't drive around the parking lot looking and looking and looking, if the front parking spaces are available for your guests and your staff parks maybe somewhere else, I think that it would benefit you. But
The
we
last
continue to
question, then I'll
encourage.
turn it over to everybody else. Lighting downtown.
Yes.
Are there still needs for improved lighting? Or we heard some from a citizen the other day, and I'm just curious about it.
I think there are a couple of challenges there. We have some fluorescent lights that probably need to be changed out in the breezeway at Downtown Square. It is dark there. And I don't think there's an issue with the streetlights. I think the issue is we have buildings that are dark. Buildings that are dark because they don't have a business in there. And so it's really more of a challenge with working with property owners to bring their building up to codes, to make it a white box so that people will come in and rent and lease that. But right now, we've just got a lot of dark places along the way. There's some other things that we can look at. We talked about, adding some type of cafe lighting in other areas. But I think it's at a certain point in the evening, it does get darker down there.
Does anybody else have questions or comments? Joe, you're on JCDA. Anything to add?
Questions?
Okay, good. Well, thank y'all so much for coming over. It's been very informative, and thanks for all the work that you do and focus on downtown. I spoke to a group today of newcomers to Johnson City, and they brought up two things. One, what a great place Johnson City is, and two, why don't you market it more? And so as we kind of get this branding message out, we need that to go out from every place that we have that communicates to the
Yes.
outside world.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Peterson.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation by Mr. Witherspoon. We have a new piece of equipment that we have purchased. It's sitting out front. Hopefully, you had an opportunity to stop by and check it out on your way in this evening. And Tom's going to give us an update on what it is and why it is such an important piece of our continuing maintenance of our wastewater collection system.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We'll keep this short. As the commission's aware, we've got about 750 miles of sewer collection system, sanitary sewer collection system. We started down a path back in '06 of cleaning 10% of that line annually. We have cycled all the way through the system. We are on our second cycle now. We got our first large combination sewer cleaning truck in about 2001. We added a second one. The older one has reached its useful service life. We programmed into the 2019 budget a newer one, a brand new one, and that's what we had on display out there tonight. It's a Vector truck. It does two things when it's cleaning sewer lines. Hydraulic hose spraying water out goes up in the main and pulls the debris back to the manhole, and then it has a vacuum unit that pulls the debris out. We didn't have that capability till about 2001, and so to get the debris out prior to that, we had a little demonstration out there. You had a bucket and a shovel and a rope, and that's how you got the debris out prior to 2001. So this is a much better unit. It's what many of the larger systems use. We researched it before writing specifications up for it. The total cost of the truck is they're not cheap anymore. I think the first two we bought were in the $225,000 range. This one is in the $419,000 range. But hopefully we'll get about 20 years life out of the truck. So we appreciate y'all stopping by to take a look at it. The employees understand if they're thrilled to have the equipment. They understand that when we've got new equipment and we've got reliable equipment, they get the job done, and they have done a good job to date with that. So, Mr. Peterson, thank you.
You did a good job of being brief, Tom. I'm going to expand upon that a little bit. This line cleaning program helps us to ensure that we know the condition of our lines. What that does is they'll clean them. They also have another truck that runs a TV camera down them. So we can pick up breaks in the line, roots, any kind of opportunity for I&I, so that we can do future planning as to where we need to do repair and replacement of lines. This all is really the first step of what we go through with cleaning and inspection, evaluation, planning, and then line replacement and repair. All of this helps us stay in compliance with the state and the EPA. It also helps us to ensure we have as efficient a system as we can possibly have. Years ago, we contracted all this out, or we just didn't do it. It was just a wild guess. We waited until we
Didn't do
had-
a lot of it, so.
And, it's been an interesting progression of technology and working smarter with technology. And I think it's certainly a tribute to all the employees and to Tom that, they're staying out in front of this thing. But not to pick on Knoxville, but Knoxville waited until they had problems, and then the EPA came in and forced them to make some repairs that was on the high side of $1 billion, I think.
It approached $1 billion, if I'm not
So,
mistaken.
and when they come in, it's not, we get to plan this out, it's, you'll have this done in X amount of time. We really don't care what it costs. These types of proactive steps save us a lot of money over the long haul, so
But
this is a great
on-
investment.
On
We
behalf of the
appreciate it.
employees, thank you for funding that in the budget. Greatly appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
And it is going to be in the parade, right? We're going to have it in the Christmas parade.
We need a good driver, Mayor.
I got it.
All right, your next order of business is consideration of a temporary occasion license for Atlantic Ale for an event they're having on April the 27th. We would recommend your approval.
Is the applicant here? You come forward and state your name and address, please. I think we know you, but, okay,
Yep, Jacob Grieg, 218 West Holston Street.
very good. And let's see, this is a special permit. Have you read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of alcohol in the city?
Have.
And you agreed to abide by them?
I do.
I'm sure these guys frequent your place, right?
Never seen any of them before.
Our kids go to the same school.
Okay, all right, that's all. Good, okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Move for approval.
All right, a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
And any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. You want us to tell us about the event?
We're just, we're having an event. We're gonna have a local band play and then to serve good craft beer.
So will it be just around the ale house, or
No,
will
we
it spread
have
out to the park?
We have rented the park, so we'll spread out to the park.
Very
So we're
good.
gonna work with the birthday party and we'll have a good time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right, your next order of business is to make 2 appointments to the EMS Board of Directors. One of these is a confirmation of an appointment made by the Legacy Mountain States Board, and that would be Regina Barkley. Ms. Barkley has served on this board and been a very loyal attendee and participant in the board's actions. And the other appointment is the City Commission's appointment. The recommendation is to reappoint Mr. Jack Hall. Jack has a long career in the medical profession, including being an emergency department nurse and administrator. Having served with Jack on this board now for 12 or 15 years, he's always there. He's very knowledgeable and has added lots of value to this board. Jack is a very solid board member.
Commissioners, we have 2 recommendations, Ms. Regina Barkley and Mr. Jack Hall. Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to confirm Ms. Barkley and appoint Mr. Hall.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd like to say that I have worked with Mr. Hall for many years, most of those years, middle of the night on call in the emergency department at Johnson City Medical Center, and we need him on that
Very good.
committee.
All right. Very good. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Your next order of business is consideration of a street closure request from WCQR to accommodate May the 4th Be With You 4K to be held on Saturday, May the 4th. The appropriate reviews have been made. The route of the event is in your packet. It's primarily over in the Keystone community, and we would recommend your approval.
Okay, Ms. Hubbs, I think you've got 3 on the docket
I
tonight,
do.
right?
I like to get them all in at once. I
You get
love
'em
every
all
one
in?
of you, but once a season's enough.
All right, well, we'll get this first one. May the 4th be with you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes. You want to tell us about this one?
Yes, I was hoping to have a special guest with me, but Darth was booked,
Darth?
so
You could've brought
got to
the
come to the
turkey.
race. But it's with WCQR, and it's a fun family event. It's basically a 4K, so it's a little over 2 miles. The courses in Keystone, as you mentioned earlier, but we finish inside the stadium, and we'll have a movie afterwards. So it's National Star Wars Holiday. So if you're a Star Wars fan, come out, and there's going to be characters there. And working on this race has been it's always educational, but who knew that Lucasfilms would get involved with this little race? But Lucasfilm send you a document, and you have to follow their guidelines. And so the characters that will be there were approved by George Lucas. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how interesting. Okay. So that one's approved. Let's
It
go to
is.
the next one.
Next request is street closure from the Johnson City, Washington County Veterans Memorial Foundation to accommodate the Run for Our Veterans 5K to be held on Friday, May the 24th. The event will be between 6 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. This course is primarily through the VA campus, which doesn't require any action by you, but the request is to close a small portion of Main Street and Gold Star Boulevard. We would recommend your approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes. I did this race
Yes, you
last
did.
year.
I was gonna
and
say.
It's a good thing we closed the street because that's about where I was ready to fall over.
Well, Food City is one of their major sponsors, and they're going to bring out their tractor trailer with the veterans on the side of it, and they're getting involved. And it's going to be exciting. But the proceeds from this race help keep the memorial going as well. And last year they expanded, I think it was phase 3, so now they're on to phase 4, and so they're just trying to raise money. So when that happens, that they have money available, and it's a great cause. It's the Veterans Memorial Foundation committee that puts this on, and it's truly a delight. And we really get to honor the veterans and different people that served in the military.
It's a good turnout on that one, too.
It is a good one.
Mr. Peterson, last one.
The next one is street closure request for the Downtown Mile Road Race to be held on Wednesday, June the 5th, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. The route is concentrated downtown involving Buffalo, Maine, and Market, Spring, and Tipton. We would recommend your approval.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes. Okay.
This is probably, I have many great races and fun races, but this might be one of my favorites. It's just a mile, but we celebrate running. It's National Running Day or Global Running Day, and we have 3 races. We have a kids race, an open race where any of us could do it, but then we have an elite race. So at 8 o'clock, we have some of the fastest people, not only in the Tri-Cities, but from Knoxville, Asheville, Boone, that come in here, and we team up with Fleet Feet, and we offer a little cash prize. But that elite race is truly something to watch. The finish line is just a tunnel of people just cheering these runners on, and it's awesome. You really should come and see it. It's neat. And so that is on a Wednesday night, so it's a little different. We're excited.
It's great to see the kids down there, too, running with their, they just kind of go down Main Street and turn there and come back.
Yes,
so-
they go around Tipton Street and then Spring and then back. So it's just,
Okay.
a couple blocks for them, but it's the young kids, but they can really get into it.
Yeah, they do.
And we used to not time them, but now we have to because they get so into it.
Was a good family
Yes, it
friendly
is.
event.
And it's dog friendly. All events that we do, except for the half marathon and obstacle race, is dog friendly. So you get to see a lot of the 4-legged furry friends out there.
We voted, didn't we? Yeah? Okay. very good.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you, Karen.
Appreciate it.
See you on the road.
Your next item for consideration is approval of the consent agenda.
Commissioners, are there any items that you would like to pull? Dr.
Got all my
Calhoun?
questions answered.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Likewise.
Commissioner Hunter?
Same.
And Commissioner?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to pull one, really because it's such a good news story, and I want to share it with our citizens. Every once in a while, we make really good decisions on commissions, and this is one of them, about 10 years ago that was made. And Mr. Peterson, if you would just kind of talk to us about the ESG project and what was spent on that, why we did it, and what the return has been.
Mayor, I'm going to defer to Mr. Wilson, and Bob has really been the one that's administered this through the years, so he can probably answer questions I can't. Bob, please, sir.
Thank you. Back in January of '08, the city commissioned a study with ESG, Energy Systems Group, to study city and school facilities for energy. As a result of that study, there was a contract that was issued, and there were a total of 44 city and school facilities received some kind of energy upgrade, or it could be water, could be HVAC, lighting. This project was completed in August of 2012. The total cost was $11 million. About 4.2 of that was for city facilities. That included a generator for this building. It's an emergency generator. HVAC improvements, which were the major ones for the city. It was about $2.5 million of HVAC improvements. And a number of those were items that needed to be replaced anyway. They had neared the end of their useful life, and we're going to have to replace them somehow. So this energy study paid for that. We also did just over $900,000 in lighting improvements. So those were the two major components. We also replaced a lot of windows and doors. The school's total was about just under $6.8 million. That included kitchen equipment, about $420,000. Their HVAC was about $6.9 million. Their lighting improvement was about 2.2. So you can see that these were major investments made in our facilities. Now the flip side of this, when we did the study, the energy savings were used to pay for the debt service. So it was it was items, let's say stuff, it was equipment and items that needed to be replaced, and the energy savings from that helped justify that replacement. We've done these, ESG has conducted these measurement and verification studies each year. We had a guarantee with them that the energy savings would meet a set minimum. So this is the 6th year we've done this. This past year for the city alone, our actual savings were $363,000. The guarantee was $259,000. That's a difference in a positive side of $104,000. For the schools, this past year, it was over $623,000 for a guarantee of just over $472,000, which exceeds it by $150,000. These results have been similar for the past 6 years. When we include the construction year, the total savings over this entire period has been over $7.4 million for the city and the schools. The total for the city is about 4.4, and the schools for that same period is, for the city, I got my paragraphs combined here. It's a total of 7.4. The total city savings was about 3.8, and the schools are 4.4. So it's more than paid for itself. It has exceeded the guarantee by a significant amount each year. The loan period for this is a 15-year loan that we took out, and the energy guarantee is a 15-year period. Based on the success of the program and where we are, it's staff's recommendation that we discontinue this program. We're paying for it to be measured, but we're far exceeding the results. We will still continue to monitor our usage in our buildings. We have 2 buildings, this building and Keystone, that we actually monitor the actual dollar savings, and all the school facilities are that way. We'll continue with that under a different program, but we'll discontinue the measurement and verification program.
Good. I was on the school board when this happened, and it's not just the cost savings that we benefited from, but it was the comfort of our buildings. Some schools got new windows, some new doors. The lighting just made all the difference in the world in our schools, and so it was a win-win, so good stuff. Thanks, Bob. Any other questions or comments? John, you got to benefit that when you got on the school board. So. All right. So nothing else being pulled. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4687-19, an ordinance to abandon existing water and sewer easements and to accept the dedication of new easements upon the terms and conditions contained herein, and repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, is ready for your consideration on first reading. We have a property out on Carroll Creek Road where we bought a utility easement in 2004. And due to some complications in getting the line put in and other easements required for that project, that easement has never been utilized. The property owner has agreed to grant the city a new utility and drainage easement in the proper location to allow us to proceed with a sewer line installation out there along western Carroll Creek Road. So we need to abandon the one that we have, and in exchange for that, we're going to get a new easement from this property owner in a different location on that property. We would recommend your approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
And this takes you to the manager's report. Janet's getting together there. I want to bring your attention to an item in your information section of your packet. And I don't know why I'm showing y'all a piece of paper. None of y'all have paper. Sorry. It's an information item in your packet, and it's the construction project invoice report. We had mentioned to you earlier that with some changes in the agenda, that we would be reporting to you invoices that we receive associated with ongoing construction projects. So the front page of this is a listing of projects and payments that we have received since the first of the month. And the left-hand column is the department that's responsible. The middle column is a description of what the project is, or an identifier. The third column is a numeric column that further identifies the project for us internally. The last column on the right is the dollar amount of the invoice payment. That is not the project cost. That's not the paid to date number. That's just the dollar value of that one invoice. The next page behind that is a construction project status report, and it's broken down by buildings and facilities, transportation, and utilities. We will eventually have a parks section on here. Again, it identifies the project, the engineer, architect, the project description. Here it shows the complete project cost, what's been paid to date, and what the contemplated completion date is, and if there's any status report as far as changes from report to report. And the last 3 or 4 pages of this information piece will always be pictures of ongoing projects in place. We'll work real hard to get you current pictures, but some of these projects, the police training building looks a lot different than the picture you've got in this packet. That's one of those that's moving really quick. Some of the water sewer projects, they don't move fast at all. It's just a long process. So I think this gets you up to date on where we are with most of the significant projects. As you look through this, if there are changes you'd like to see, information that's not necessary or information that's not here that you would like to see, we're looking at this as kind of a work in progress for a month or two and until we can fine tune it to best meet your needs. And I guess in recap, we are not experiencing any problems with any of the projects going right now. Everything seems to be moving along very nicely. The Langston project should finish up. The contractor should be out of there about the 1st of July. Public Works will have some flat concrete work to do once the contractor demobilizes and gets out of the way. The police training facility should be done by the end of June. It may even be a little bit early. The Liberty Bell Gym obviously isn't expected to be finished until June of 20. Now that the weather's breaking and they've got a lot of the excavation done, I think we'll starting to see footers and concrete pours, those types of things be happening up here in the next couple of months. So I'd be glad to make any changes to this as you all deem necessary as we move forward.
Anybody okay, or is everybody okay with the format, or is there any additional information? Would it be helpful if the total project cost was on there, or this is okay?
I think if we're running at what was estimated, I think it's great. If we're going over, I'd like to know that at some point in time, or if it looks like we're going over.
I don't have the authority to expend money beyond what you've got a contract for.
So you're going to let us know?
So you'll know months
The change
before
order.
we get to that point and all like that, yes, sir.
And you said Parks and Recs will be added.
As right now, we don't have any big park projects moving, but as in the new budget cycle, there's several projects that'll be moving, and we'll have a park section on that, yes, sir.
This is not a construction project, but is there any update on Buffalo Valley?
Yes, actually, that may even be on here. I was reading somewhere today. Give me just a
It's about
second.
the fifth item on the project status, barge designs, preliminary analysis.
Yes. They've done the majority of the initial phase. The next phase is to do, the Corps requires us to do some water sampling and observation of wildlife in the creeks. And that phase of this is supposed to be completed no later than July the 1st. Once that's done, the Corps takes that and will tell us what, in a final form, what we can and can't do, which will turn them loose to do the design documents, and then we'll be prepared to begin construction as soon as we get final approval on the construction documents.
Are we keeping up with the maintenance out there
Yes, ma'am.
to the neighbors'
We're keeping it
satisfaction?
mowed, and we're keeping it maintained to the level we promised everyone we would. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I had a meeting last week with our realtor representing us on the downtown buildings. There is a clarified offer forthcoming on all 4 buildings downtown. You remember we talked about this at an agenda review meeting a couple of weeks ago and wanted some clarification. They're refining their offer, and we should be receiving a written offer here, I would hope, next week. We had a meeting last week also concerning the Train Museum at ETSU, which also included discussion about the future of the Ash Street Courthouse building. So there's a group of people in discussions, and work assignments have been made in terms of what's it really going to cost to stabilize the building, what's it going to cost to convert it to make it available for the train museum, as well as putting together a business plan and how the train museum could be operated and sustained going forward. That's probably a project that'll take some months to get pulled together. There's a lot of moving pieces with that one, but it is moving. I think I've reported to you before, we do have a staff attorney hired that starts next week or the week after, Monday week. Monday week, we'll have a new staff attorney, and there's nobody happier than me, trust me. We had our Employee Service Award dinner last week where we recognized employees with 5-year increments of service. We did recognize, I believe it was 4 or 5 employees with 40 years of service with the organization. It was very much appreciated by the employees, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to recognize those folks and give them a dinner, so thank you. Also had a meeting this week with folks that are working on the Sports Science Center. Some of the foreign investors will be in town next week, and we're going to try to get some meetings set up with them and hopefully finalize or further refine timelines, investment strategies, construction strategies going forward. They have a new person involved with that project that has some extensive experience with construction administration and project development, and I think that's going to be very helpful to keep that project on track and moving. As Diana reported earlier, there have been several meetings concerning the John Sevier project. We had a conference call this morning with the attorneys in Knoxville concerning determining who might be interested in working on the replacement housing project as well as the redevelopment of the hotel building downtown. And the folks in Knoxville are going to put together a request for proposals that could be put out to solicit interest in developing those two pieces of this project. So that's very good news. That is, they have received a preliminary approval from HUD for the transfer to the JCDA of the John Sevier building and the HAP contract associated with that from HUD. So that's moving in a positive direction, and looks like that with a little help in putting financing together, we can make that project happen. And of course, to report more so for the public than you all, we had what I thought was a very successful 6-hour meeting last Thursday doing some strategic planning. And I certainly want to extend my thanks to you all for putting in that much time and effort to start putting a vision for the community together and to ensure that we're listening to everybody and providing best what we can to address the needs to move the city forward. I think this is a big step to have a group of elected officials willing to put in 4, 5, 6 hours a week in special meetings. It's going to take us a long way, and you guys are really setting the stage for future commissions to have a much easier road to hoe, as they say. And on that, Janet, tell us where Rich won the mega lottery and
Please.
where we are financially, please, ma'am.
Absolutely. First of all, I need to, for the record, acknowledge that we've distributed the state report on debt obligation with regard to our most recent debt issuance. So we emailed that out earlier in the week, and you have a hard copy at your place. So now I can note that in the record, and we are in compliance. Because the financials are so thick and there's so much information in here, I went ahead and put together some highlights, just some bullet points, to make it a little bit easier for me to explain it and for you to have something that you can refer back to. On our general fund balance sheet, we have 2 reserves that are significant. where we've put money aside for economic development and for the funding of the Fine and Performing Arts Center at ETSU. So we should end the year on the Economic Development Reserve around $2.4 million. Those monies are available each year to invest in the community and economic development activities. The hotel occupancy 2% tax reserve should end the year around $300,000 or so, so we're in good shape there. The general fund revenues, we've collected nearly 73% of our budget through February, so we're on good track there. Property taxes, as you know, come in mainly during October, November, and December, so you see a big boost in those during those months, and then it'll trickle off, but we use those monies to sustain us through the rest of the year. So property taxes, as you know, are 30% of our general fund revenues. Local sales taxes are 24%, so we like to highlight those each month. So on property taxes, the current year, we expect to collect $285,000 more than we did last year. That's a little bit short of what was budgeted for additional billings. We never do really know where those are going to come in. And I did want to note that 2019 is a tax appraisal year, reappraisal year for Washington County. We are in Washington, Carter, and Sullivan. So our largest county, Washington, will go through reappraisal this year. So if you start getting, as those notices go out from the county assessor's office later in the year, if you start getting calls, you'll know that those appraisals will be done this year, probably already have been done. So you can just refer those back to the tax assessor's office. We have collected 95.3% of what we billed, so we are on track. We're in good shape. 1/3 of those lower billings were coming from our public utilities, and I'm going to be taking a deeper dive into that billing and see exactly which companies of the $800,000 that we billed experienced a decrease. We've reported before that the state did change the way they are assessing the public utilities to give them some relief, but then they instituted a privilege tax on those same entities, which will be phased out over a period of time. So we are getting some money from a telecommunication privilege tax. So I feel that we're still being made whole. It's just on different line items within the income statement.
But that's going to decline?
It will
Do we
phase
know?
out over the next few years.
What kind of impact will that have on us?
It's probably in the $100,000 range, but we'll monitor that. We'll continue to monitor that. I've not reported this before, but every month when I look at the property tax collections, there's a line that I see that you don't see that says corrections. We routinely, pretty much every day, receive corrections from the county assessor's office. Some of those are increases where personal property taxes have been audited by, they have some outside firms that they contract with that routinely audit the personal property assessments. That's inventories and business equipment and so forth. So sometimes we receive increases in the taxes. Oftentimes we receive decreases in the taxes due to, property owners, appealing their assessment. Most of the time it is businesses. Maybe they're in a economic kind of downturn. We see a lot of that, but there's another report that I left with you this evening that gives, and I sorted this in order from large to small, so you can see the largest decreases, and some of those are associated with some of the tax abatements, but we're going to have, pickups obviously on the other side for those, but I just thought you might be interested to see where those corrections are coming. We also had some pickups, because you'll see on the plus side, we had some increases. Is that a puzzled look?
Oh, we're going through the list.
I thought you might find that of interest. It's not really significantly different from last year. I just thought it might be interesting reading, so you can see how our billing does change once we bill it, so. On the delinquent taxes, well, one more note on, this isn't related to delinquent taxes. We're pretty much on track with budget. I mean, you're gonna see there that we're lower than last year, but that's not really of concern because we're still on track with budget. As the clerk and master's office and the chancellor, continues to be timely and aggressive with their efforts, we see the delinquent numbers come down, so there's just not as much out there to collect, which is great for us. The tax sale we had last fall covered through tax year 2015. We essentially hold those taxes here for about a year and a half, and then we turn them over to the clerk and master in accordance with state law. So we just turned over the 2017 real property taxes. Next year, they're not going to have a tax sale in the current year, as I understand, but next year we will have a tax sale that will probably cover through tax year 2016 or 17. There's a lot of research that goes into getting ready for that tax sale, and we work through Lawrence Counsel's office to do that. Interest and penalty also is lower than last year because that's tied straight with delinquents, but we are on track with budget. Local sales tax, I know we've had some concern there. We are $149,000 short of budget through 7 months. However, we're still seeing growth. Year-to-date, we're at 1.43%, and that is 7 months because we do experience a lag with sales tax collections. Business taxes, the majority of those will come in May because they changed to a calendar year cutoff, so those are due in April to the state, and there's a little bit of a lag from the time they're submitted until we receive our part, so you'll see a big bump in the revenues in May for business taxes. The TVA impact fee, as you notice from the Boone Lake Dam repair, we get some monies from TVA for that. $297,000 that we received in the current year has been set aside in the Economic Development Reserve. You'll notice the state of Tennessee inmate revenue running ahead of last year. That's because just the head count in the jail's running higher, so we get so much per day per inmate.
We were doing construction in the jail last year
Yeah.
and had to reduce our population as a result of the construction. We're back to full capacity again. That's what that is.
The state shared sales tax, I thought you'd be interested to see that it's actually running 4% higher. So you can see that across the state, sales taxes are very, very strong. So we do get a share of the state sales tax. On the general fund expenditures, we've spent 61% through February. We're 67% through the year. So the departments are doing a great job of keeping their spending under control. I would expect to to end the year within budget, if not below budget, on expenditures. You asked last time how we were doing in golf versus last year. This time last year we did have, well, not this time, but year-to-date last year, we had 6 months of Buffalo Valley reported activity. This year, of course, we only have Pine Oaks, but it's been folded into the general fund. So you see those respective lines in the general fund financials. They were not part of the general fund financials for last year, so we don't report them there. But I've recorded here the impact. So last year at this point, we had a deficit in golf of $413,000. This year, I'm happy to say that the deficit's been improved to $244,000. So you see the result of that action that you took. In the school fund, they're like we are, they're doing very well for the year, so they're reporting a surplus year to date. Freedom Hall still runs a deficit in the maintenance area, and I would imagine this is related to activity for shows, and it depends on the mix of shows and the staffing and the resources that are required, but the salaries and benefits for maintenance related to shows is running $30,000 higher than last year.
And let's back up to the general purpose school fund.
Okay.
The revenues, that's kind of year-to-date, is that what, is this?
For 8
what-
months,
For
yes.
8 months, okay, and the expenditures at 45. So Are there just timing issues on why they have such a large surplus, do you think, or any idea? I mean,
Well, they too they get Washington County property taxes. And so February is, you see the big surge
I gotcha.
in Washington County property taxes. So they will spend a good part of this down by year end, because you get that surge and then you have to use that money to sustain the rest of the year. Plus, at the
That
end
gets
of
them
the
through their 12-month salaries too.
Right, right. Plus, there may be 1 month there at the end where they don't get their BEP funding, so.
And the Freedom Hall deficit, did Grubbs retire in this fiscal year?
I looked at that, it was last fiscal year.
It was last fiscal, so it wasn't a retirement
No.
payout? Okay.
There's no retirement, it was the same 3 maintenance employees, and their salaries, their regular salaries were very similar, except for the increase everyone got.
So it's part-time labor we brought in?
It is,
Okay.
just dealing with shows
Okay.
to support
So there
the
should be
shows.
offsetting revenue somewhere?
Yes.
so if there's 34,000 higher than last year, what's the total deficit?
60, sorry, I don't.
That's okay if you can't lay your hands on it.
I believe it's 68,000.
Okay.
81, sorry. $81,000
$81,000.
That's year to date.
year to date.
Okay.
Yes.
Year to date. In the health insurance fund, just a note there that there is a deficit for the year, but you're going to expect peaks and valleys in any fund. So you use the reserves that are on hand to sustain you through the valleys. And so we still have healthy reserves on hand for those. Just a general comment about cash balances across all the funds, including schools, all the utility funds, the general fund, all of the funds that that are required to carry a healthy cash balance have achieved that. So we're in good shape on the cash side as well. So I really don't have any major concerns even about the general fund bottom line for this year, despite the softness in sales tax.
Any questions of Janet?
This is really helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
It's the same.
good.
Yeah, it is. So, hang on. I do have another item.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Is there any update on any legislation going on right now that we should be in the know?
I guess the thing I could say for sure is it looks like the legislature is trying to wrap up and get going in the next 2 weeks. Things are moving very fast in Nashville. They're starting to load up the omnibus bills where they do all the road namings, bridge namings, rule changes that they want to put in place. I think there's still a mixed view on what they want to do with online sales taxes. I think from what I'm being told, the comptroller would really prefer that they wait until next spring to give everybody enough time to ensure that the situation is fully understood and everybody has a good understanding of how the different levels of government are going to be impacted, because there's several different ways that online sales taxes could be collected and distributed. Representative Holtzclaw's bill with dealing with portable communications devices use while driving has passed the House with some modifications. The modifications were basically the amount of the fine. It's still in the Senate. I think it'll get through the Senate. School vouchers are changing by the hour as to what they're going to do with that. There seems to be a lot of discussion and change in an attempt to get the votes in both houses to get that passed. There's still a very active group in opposition to school vouchers. I don't think that anybody, just personal opinion, I don't think anybody in Nashville has figured out what it's going to cost and what it's going to cost over the long haul. That's a slippery slope. So let me, I'll get an end of the week summary sometime over the weekend. I'll get that together and make sure that I forward it to you. Our lobbyist usually sends me an end of the week report as to what's moving. Representative Hulsey has introduced a bill that would allow public safety employees to retire after 25 years of service. Looks like that's going to pass with some amendments. The amendments really deal with total amount of payout and how you deal with health insurance. The way the bill's structured, you can leave it 25 years, but your total payout cannot exceed the amount that it would have been if you worked a full 30 years and left. So they're going to, those that leave at 25, I think, are going to be dealing with a reduced benefit amount. They're trying to work through all the different impacts on health insurance. One of the things that I pointed out to them is for those cities that are not in TCRS, if you've got an employee that leaves at 25 years prior to reaching 59 and a half, and their retirement plan is a 457, 401 plan, to make sure everybody understands, you're going to pay a big penalty to the IRS for touching that money before 59 and a half. So I just feel like it's important the employees know on the front end that, yeah, you can go at 25 years, but if you touch your retirement plan, you're going to pay a big penalty and taxes on it. So there's some issues like that they're still trying to work through on a number of bills. So I'll send you the recap as soon as I get it. And if there's anything of particular interest that you really want an update on.
You know if that tourism district bill is still moving?
It's behind the budget in the House, and it got through Senate Commerce this week, and Senator Crow's got it teed up for Senate Finance. I don't know if it was today or if it's next week. I need to check.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Peterson? All right, any commission comments?
Did not have a planning commission meeting this last time, so I don't have anything to report there.
Okay. Commissioner Hunter?
I wanted to see if we could get, and it's kind of on the fly, but with warm weather, are we, I know I've had some people come to me with some issues of, in downtown, in the tree streets of vagrants and issues like that. I don't know if y'all have seen an uptick with the police department.
Might be good just to kind of get a report on how our warm weather effort downtown in terms of patrol. That'd probably be a good idea.
Mayor, Commissioner Hunter, as far as the downtown patrols, we're still conducting extra patrols with our slippage from salary where we're short officers, and so we still have extra officers that are patrolling all hours of downtown. A lot of that's during the daytime when people are coming in for services. We've noticed some people coming in from outside the area that we're not familiar with, so I'm sure that there's some transit population coming through as well. We're going to meet with the JCDCA on the 23rd and talk to them, and then we're going to plan on meeting with our business owners downtown as well to get their input. So that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll make some adjustments from there. Also, when school's out, we utilize our school resource officers to help us patrol in the downtown. So there's going to be a larger police presence probably in the downtown here in the next few months as it warms up.
Are they mainly foot patrols, or they ride bicycles, or what?
It'll be all of the above. It'll be foot patrols, bicycles, and there'll be some officers out on in their vehicles as well. Of course, depending on the weather and the time of day, but there should be some. You'll probably notice some extra officers downtown. Yes, ma'am.
Spoke with Mayor Venable yesterday, and in Sullivan County, they're having the same challenges that we have in terms of staffing and finding officers, and we are 6 openings right now.
We are at 5 openings right now, and we have a couple of pending retirements coming as well. So registration is open if anyone would like to join the police department. We do have openings, so but we're taking those applications now, and we'll start another hiring process. But we should know a little bit more about downtown after we meet with JCDA and the business owners down there as well. So we'll be glad to report back to you after.
I was going to
after we
ask
do
if you'd
that.
keep us in the loop on what your findings are with those meetings.
I will,
Thank you.
Commissioner. Yes, sir.
But in the short term, we're going to have much more of a presence, at least being seen down there.
Yes, ma'am. And like I said, when school's out, and I think that's right around the 25th of May, somewhere in that area, some of those SROs will be downtown as well, so you'll see some more officers down there as well after that.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. We are preparing for the State of the City address. I kind of sent y'all an outline. Take a look at it if you haven't had a chance to see it. I know some of you have done your short little video, and we did, if that was okay, to get you back in one of the
Already
public
done it.
schools. Oh, okay,
Already
good.
redone yours?
Already
Yeah.
redone. Yes.
So
Wow.
if we had planned a little bit better, we could have gotten Commissioner
Truck.
Fowler with the big jetter out there. That would have been good.
We could probably rearrange that. That would be tough.
I will tell you, I did mine yesterday at Tannery Knobs, and I rode about half of the pump track, and I decided, probably don't want my bones splattered up there. But I did ride the Green Trail, and it is quite amazing. And if you ride it aggressively enough, you don't even have to pedal. You can go almost, the whole time because of the way it is constructed.
Back up to the top.
You might have to pedal a little bit there, but it's not bad. But it's not bad at all. I mean, it
Very good.
really is going to be an incredible feature. The State Commissioner of Tourism, Mr. Azell, was here today, and I think Commissioner Fowler had lunch with him. I think he's pretty impressed with what he sees around here. I met with him with a group of people up at Tannery Knobs, and he was pretty impressed. And so we've invited him back to bring his bike shorts and the fly rod to take him out in these beautiful mountains and streams. But I think one of the things that we're hearing, and I think as we sit and talk with the CVB and the JCDA and our own communications and marketing with the city, we have some opportunities right now, particularly with our new brand and then a broader kind of regional brand, that we start touting ourselves and look at markets that we could go in to get people to start considering us. I guess it was in the paper this past week where the traffic count on I-26 is 60,000 cars a day pass us. So we need one of those big go all out billboards between here and Irwin to get them to pull over and stop. So
A couple in Asheville,
yeah.
Norton,
But I think, and I think,
Hayside.
Pete, you've been working with Keisha to look at our own marketing, but we want to make sure that all groups who are marketing us are furthering our brand. That's a fair statement.
Absolutely.
All right, very good. All right, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.